I'm at 233 Wisteria Drive in Dayton, Ohio. This is Oakwood, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything concerning to the buyer. Our access point on this one is actually an old toilet flange. If you come down the steps, it's in the center rear of the basement. So if you come around the steps and you're walking towards the rear of the basement, you'll see there's a door. Used to have a toilet in it, and the stack is right next to it. And I can kind of show where I'm at here, but let's see. There is the stack, and then here is this is the basement. But that hole in the floor here, it has that cap in it. That is an old toilet flange. There's a toilet here. I don't know if they just took it out because it wasn't a full bathroom, but I feel like it would be a good access point. It will be dry going through here because no water comes through this thing right now because it's not being used. And so this will all be dry right here, and then it should go over and go like right into the stack, or right at the base of the stack, which it does look like it does. So we may have to run some water through here. In fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to go ahead and run some water here in this stationary tub. Just going to run a little bit, but it should come through here, and it looks like it's going out the rear, but the rear, it's the rear right of the basement if you're facing the house. So we'll see if that water should be coming from behind us if we have tied into the main line yet. There it goes. And so we'll use that to rinse the camera lens off a little bit here. There we go. Alright, as you can see, this is cast iron. This is the base of the stack here. You see where it's coming in right there to the right. And then back behind this is basically just the toilet. We'll push out. And cast iron is not a bad material. Usually kind of the older it is, the better quality cast iron they put in, honestly. But it does rust, and so you don't, because of how rough the inside of the pipe is, you don't want to use any kind of wet wipes, or you make sure you're only flushing the things down the line that you should, meaning no wet wipes like I mentioned. You got to watch excessive toilet paper, feminine products, paper towels, nothing like that. Because of how rough the line is, they just tend to catch easier, and so it's a lot more common to have what we call soft clogs with cast iron line, just because of how rough it is. It can catch easier. And if you use something like wet wipes that don't break down like they're supposed to, then a lot of times it'll cause more issues. It'll cause the backup easier. And now we switched over to clay once it exited the house, which is normal for the age of the house. This is a pretty standard material. Hopefully running that water does not obscure flow very much, or obscure visual, excuse me. But we may end up, probably just turn it off once we get all the way out. That way we'll let it drain down. That way in situations like this where you can't see a whole lot because the water just barely over the camera lens, because that camera lens is only like a ½ an inch. And so it doesn't, off the bottom of the pipe, it doesn't take much water to obscure the view. So we'll make sure when we get out all the way that we turn that water off, let it drain down. Because a whole lot. A little bit of root intrusion here, not a ton. It's really, really minor. Should be taken care of with a chemical. So far, what we've seen, the line's looking really, really good. There's little tiny bit of roots there coming in, very minor. Another minor amount of root intrusion, nothing down. I think it's just now starting to get down into the flow line. This could be handled, I believe, with some Brudex. And we made it all the way out. About 77 to 78 feet there. We're all the way out to Maine. So, I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to turn the water off, let it drain down. Another thing about the cast iron though is because that's why we run the water in that stationary tub also, is we want to make sure that line's getting all the way through, that water. Because you are limited with these inspections to only the lines that you can get access to. And on this is a lot of times stationary tubs and kitchen lines are a smaller diameter pipe, and especially the cast iron, they are not the original diameter any longer. And so you also have situations where you use the easiest access point because you don't want to risk damaging a pipe trying to get it open or something like that. So obviously you use what you can for liability reasons. So but in this case we've done most of the line. We are watching, obviously the water flowing through is coming from the stationary tub that the laundry dumps into. You do want to watch lint on those also, and make sure there's lint traps on the discharge pipes for your washer, because again with the cast iron we see that a lot with the smaller diameter pipe, and lint buildup can also cause backups. But at any rate, the line looked really good structurally all the way out, had some minor root intrusion, but we're going to take another look as we pull back. So I'm going to pause that video and let the water drain down. Okay, we've been letting it sit for a minute, so we can go ahead and start pulling back. Still have a little bit of, still have some water flowing. It usually takes a while for the water to get all the way out, 80 feet. Especially if the line is relatively flat, it only has to have like 1% grade. So see about 73 feet here. We do have, it's probably about the worst we've seen, and it's right there next to the main, so a bit more there. But as we mentioned, all this is very, very minor. Like, this does not require any immediate cleaning or anything. I mean, it'd probably be a good idea to go ahead and put like a treatment of Rudex in when you move in, just as a preventative maintenance measure. Well, there we go. Something came loose. And it's just because the house is empty. This is like toilet paper and stuff. They got flushed out of the line, so probably the last time somebody went to the restroom with the house being empty, probably only traveled down a little ways and then settled until the next time somebody flushed the toilet or something and flushed it out. There's some more stuff just sitting around. it kind of sucks because I don't know how much of this is. So we can see right there. It's a very, very minor belly between, let's see, 37 and 37 and 42, say, but it's very, very minor. Like that's a half an inch. It's really not even worth really mentioning. There's no solid buildup, nothing like that. It's barely a half an inch in a 4-inch pipe, so it's not, you know. Nothing of any major concern, probably not even noticeable as far as functionality is concerned. But at any rate, it was what, like 37 to 42 or something like that. So I may not even put it in the report. Basically, that line probably settled right after they put it in, so it's probably been there the entire time the line's been there. Usually that's how it happens, is or after it's installed, when they backfill on these, they throw, you know, 10 feet of dirt on top of it. It settles just a little bit, but that's all that was. I don't even really think there were no solid buildup or anything sitting in there. Obviously the stuff we saw down the pipe had made it through there. And here we are back in the cast iron. Cast iron looks like it's in really good shape as far as the overall diameter of the pipe staying pretty true. A lot of times you'll see real bad channeling in the bottom. Now this could have been descaled, which is where they go through and basically hone the interior of the pipe out to its original diameter, well, hopefully knocking all the rust and stuff off. But you can never really tell how thin or thick the pipe walls are on cast iron just because it rusts, and so unless there's obvious holes, you don't know if it's still, you know, an 1/8 of an inch thick or if it's getting thin. But yeah, now we're back in the spot where I'm in the old area. That's why there's not a whole lot of water flow in that area. That's where that junk's from. This is that old toilet, like I said. So but overall the line looks really good structurally. The line looked great. Didn't see anything of any major concern or anything. There obviously, you have the root intrusion, which is normal for a house of this age and material. But the main thing here is just that you pay attention to it. Like I said, you could start with with some root killer. Usually on these, I recommend that you do that about once a year. You know, starting when you move in, I'd do a treatment just to get used to the habit. And then after about a year, do another one, and then maybe do an inspection in about 5 years to check the root growth. If you've never dealt with any of this stuff before, it just helps to be able to, you know, gauge how fast the roots are growing, and if you need to adjust the maintenance schedule in one direction or another. You may find that it's, you know, there's nothing really to change, or you may find that you can get longer in between those treatments. It's just the yearly treatment, I think, is what the manufacturer suggests on the chemical. But if you don't find yourself, you know, finding any any reason to do that, you could always extend that out. But at any rate, the line looked really good structurally. Just has some normal maintenance that's going to need to be done with the line to be able to keep the roots down. I mean, there are permanent solutions to those things, like replacing the line or putting a liner through it, but they're usually, I mean, prohibitively expensive compared to what it costs to maintain it. And people have been maintaining these clay lines for decades and decades. So, you know, just putting a little chemical down there and or, you know, just staying on it and doing regular maintenance is the biggest key to make sure you just don't let them get out of hand. But again, overall the line looked really healthy. So that's going to end the inspection at 233 Wisteria Drive in Oakwood, Dayton, Ohio.